The broadcast is now starting. All attendees are in listen-only mode.
Hello, everyone, and welcome to the webinar. I'm super excited to have you all here today. I can't wait to dive into all of the material we have to cover. While we wait for folks to join, I'd love for you all to make sure that you're able to use the question box feature and go to webinar. So if you all could chat into that question box where you're calling in from today, just so I can see where folks are calling in from. For example, I'm from Boston, Massachusetts. And I love it up here, born and raised here. But the beautiful thing about these webinars is they bring together people of all different corners of the world. So I always think it's just interesting to see how we bring together folks in different places on these webinars. So go ahead and type in where you're calling in from today so I can see, and I'll call out some of these folks here. We got Drew from Chicago. Hello, Drew. Megan from Ohio. Welcome, Megan. John from Tennessee. Welcome. David from California, welcome. We have some folks from Arkansas on, welcome. Adam from California, welcome. Holy smokes, tons of people typing in right now. We have some folks from Texas here, welcome. Some other folks from Massachusetts, hello neighbors. Some folks from Ottawa, Canada, welcome. From British Columbia, Canada, welcome. We have tons of different people coming in. Wow, these are pouring in. This is amazing. Some folks from Ontario, Colette from Ontario. Welcome, Colette. We have Samantha from Ohio as well. Elizabeth, also from Massachusetts. Welcome. This is great. James from Chicago. Hello, James. Morgan from Wisconsin. Matt from Ontario. Welcome, Matt. Andrew from DC. Hello, Andrew. Some folks from New York. Some folks Kelly from Salem, Oregon. I didn't even know there was a Salem, Oregon, but there's certainly Salem, Massachusetts, and New Hampshire's where I am based out of, so that's interesting. April from Ohio, welcome April. Carrie from Michigan. Some folks from Winnipeg, welcome. Bob from Utah. Jessica from Miami. This is great. I love seeing everyone type in the question box, not only to see that you're all able to use the feature throughout this webinar today, but also it is just such a nice feeling to know that these webinars bring together all of us to learn this great topic of social media today. So with that, I'm going to jump into a few housekeeping items for our webinar today. So just a couple of things. I did already see a few questions pop up in the question box about the recording. So this webinar will be recorded. So don't worry about taking notes or anything like that. You'll have the materials in your inbox later today. And you can also find the recording easily on our YouTube channel. So if you just search Local IQ or WordStream on YouTube, you'll see the recordings there as well as recordings from past webinars. So if you want to dig into any of the ones you might have missed, you can find those on YouTube too. So again, don't worry about the recording. We've got that covered today. Also, the reason why I had you all type in where you're from in the question box is, again, I want you to be able to use this throughout. I can see your questions coming in, and we have a really in-depth Q&A session planned for the end of this. If you've attended any of our past webinars, you know that we love to dive into the questions that you all send in. So we'll be answering some of your questions live here. So make sure that you save some of your questions, send those in throughout, or wait until the Q&A session at the end and pop those into the question box so that I can answer them during that session. So for all of the folks on the call today, some of you might be already familiar with us over at Local IQ. Maybe you're already even working with us, which is awesome. Some of you might be totally new, and some of you might be working with or familiar with our sister brands, WordStream or Reach Local. So for all of the folks on the call today, I just want to get us on the same page as to who Local IQ is. And essentially, we're a fully integrated growth marketing platform that helps businesses grow and thrive through a combination of innovative technology as well as unparalleled expertise and tools at your fingertips to make sure that you have what you need to prosper. So how exactly do we do that? Now, I did mention a couple of the details here, but again, technology is really at our core. So we have a marketing platform that runs on optimization and AI technology. We use with data-informed decisions from over 1 million different campaigns that you necessarily can't find anywhere else. So it's a really great tool to just be consistently optimizing and growing your channels. And like I had mentioned, we have free tools at your fingertips to put time back into your day to managing your business. So these tools help make marketing a little bit easier and a little less time consuming for you. And then also we do have proven results from the past. We've been in the marketing space for over 15 years, which is pretty crazy to think about when you think about how long the digital marketing space has really been around. It's really come up and grown in the last 15, 20 years. So we've kind of been through it all, been through that crazy ride of the evolution of all these different social media platforms, which we'll be talking about today, and other channels as well, like search and so many other different platforms that you can be advertising on. So we've kind of been through it all, we've seen it all, and we have the proven results to kind of back what we do today. One other thing that I want everyone to know about LocaliQ is that we are a premier partner with all the major advertising and marketing platforms. So this isn't something that's just granted to any sort of marketing platform or agency like ours. It's only granted to businesses like ours that maximize campaign success for customers, meet a rigorous set of skills and requirements, and also, are just consistently providing growth for their clients and continuing to diversify and keep up with these platform changes. So we're a Google Premier partner, a Microsoft Elite partner, and a Meta Business partner. So we kind of hit all of the three major bases there for your marketing needs. A common question I get asked in a lot of these webinars is where can you find out more about the topics we cover? Where can you learn more about LocaliQ and things like that? So definitely check out our websites and our blogs. Our blogs are right on those websites, so be sure to type those in, check those out. We cover everything we cover in our webinars super in depth on our blog, so definitely check that out. And also be sure to follow us on social media. We're on LinkedIn, Twitter, and Facebook. We will notify you all about future webinars if you want to attend more of these. We also share exciting updates, any sort of news that you might need to know to improve. And we also do share other things like blog posts and articles to just help you overall learn and grow in your marketing channels. So a little bit about me, your presenter for today. It's wonderful to meet you all. My name is Susie. I'm a senior content marketing specialist over at LocaliQ, where I write educational content on anything and everything under the digital marketing sun. So you'll see a lot of the articles on the WordStream and LocaliQ blog are written by me. How I kind of came into this role was I actually was formerly a digital marketing consultant over on the WordStream side. So I was coaching businesses of all different shapes and sizes through the day-to-day of digital marketing. So I took that real life marketing expertise and applied it to the educational content that I write for you all today. A fun fact about me, and I did mention this, is I'm based out of Boston. I do love it. I know I talk about it a lot because I love it. I'm from here, and this is actually my favorite season. I love the winter time, which isn't a super popular opinion. Most folks, shy away from the cold and the snow, but I love it. I love to go snowboarding on the weekends when I'm not working and thinking about digital marketing. So that's a little bit about me. You can follow me on LinkedIn and Twitter. I post about our webinars and just share our interesting articles and things like that. So a little bit about what we're going to be covering today. So we're talking about social media strategies from both the paid and the organic lens. So I want to just dive in first to what social media optimization really means. I think a lot of people do get tripped up on this and don't necessarily have the right definition in their mind because it's kind of just a loose term. So what does that actually mean when you're applying it to your marketing channels across social media platforms? And then we're going to dive into paid versus organic, which is just an ongoing long-standing hot topic between marketers and businesses alike. I think everyone kind of leans towards one or the other. So definitely want to dig into, if there is a real winner there, if paid or organic is better or whatnot. So we'll dive into that. We'll, of course, dig into platforms pretty in depth and talk about some tips and tricks there. So basically, again, once you know why you should be optimizing your social media and what that even really entails, we're going to talk about which platforms you should really be focusing on, how you can focus in on them, and possibly even when the best time is to adjust your marketing accordingly to those platforms. And then we're going to end our call with some thought starters. So again, just diving into that Q&A, making sure that you all have the tools that you need to take away from this webinar so that you can be set up for success in the future. So if you've attended any of our past webinars, I love to keep everyone on their toes and warm you all up with a quick pop quiz. So I want you to type into that question box again. I want us to think about the consumer lens and the consumer experience. We're all consumers at heart. So share with me, have you ever interacted with the business on social media, maybe in your free time? Maybe you were scrolling or your friend showed you a post and you saw, an ad or a post from a business. What was that experience like? Do you remember any particular ads? Do you tend to look up businesses on social media? I know I definitely do, and that's a big thing on the rise is people, going to social media rather than other types of sources to understand businesses. So plenty of people are typing in here. So Scott says, yes, of course. Nicole says, yes, she has. Kelly has for sure. Christian hasn't had many experiences on social media with a business. Barb actually purchased a service on social media for a business on social media. That's very cool, Barb. Kim says, absolutely. Justice says plenty of times. Emily says she finds clothing store ads on Facebook. Yes, I've definitely seen those myself as well. Maureen definitely has. Wonderful. Sonia definitely has. Wonderful. Deb said absolutely she has. Mike has only really interacted with businesses on Facebook. Definitely a popular platform. Pam actually said she joined a gym through her Facebook as well. That's interesting. Lisa often does. Harriet says rarely she has. Scott says social media is this new search engine. I love that attitude because there is a lot of additional information you can find out about businesses on social media that wouldn't be necessarily showing up on a search engine. And we're going to talk about that a little bit today too, of like the relationship between social and search, but great call out there, Scott. Tons more responses coming in. Maddie says she's interacted with businesses hundreds of times. It's pretty amazing. Laura says she'll reach out to businesses on social media when she has an urgent issue that she needs an immediate response from them. Definitely. Wow, tons and tons of responses coming in. I wish I could call out all of these, but for the sake of time, we're going to move on. But thanks for participating in that little pop quiz because I think it's just nice to kind of warm up to the thought of, not only just marketing on social media from a business perspective, but also getting into the shoes of our ideal customers and what they might be experiencing through our own experiences. So let's just kind of just talk briefly about some social media basics here. So what does it mean to actually optimize your social media strategy? A lot of people just assume, it's just posting more. It's not just, all right, I'm going to just post a little bit more frequently, or, I'm going to try a different post. Those are baby steps into social media optimization, but it's a much broader term of, implementing different strategies and online tools and researching best practices and just doing everything you can to not just post more and have more content on your accounts, right? Because, that's one thing, but it's another thing to have that content really speak and resonate with your audience. So again, just making sure that you have the highest quality of exposure to your social media posts and ads, and also not only exposure, not only impressions, but we want to get actions out of that, right? So making sure that we're getting meaningful engagement with our ideal people as well. The reason why you might want to do this too, and you might want to be focusing on social media a little bit more is first and foremost, as we kind of found from that pop quiz, a lot of people are on social media all day, every day, not only just to keep up with friends and family and their interests, but also to check out businesses, right? So the average person spends over almost 3 hours on social media every day, which is a long time. So your customers are definitely on there. In fact, over half the world population is on social media. So I'm thinking the odds are pretty high that your ideal person is going to be on social media. So you definitely want to make sure that you're hitting them as hard as you can with that marketing. And then, of course, your competition is on there too, right? So if you want to keep up with your own industry space, know that 91% of businesses are already using social media marketing. So you definitely want to make sure that your optimization is on par and your social media game is top notch. So that you can keep up. So here's some examples of, real deal social media optimization. So, we kind of talked a little bit broadly. We know that it's not just, posting more or things like that. So some other examples would be thinking kind of outside the box. So where are other places within social media platforms now, which have evolved so much, that your customers could see your materials, right? So showing up in search results, right? So that's optimizing, maybe your bio or things like that. And when I say search results, I mean on specific platforms, right? So people can look up on Facebook, on Instagram, on Twitter, anything they might like. They might search a term, they might look for your handle, they might look for your business name, things like that. There's things that you can do to your social media accounts to optimize for that. you can also work to rank higher in your followers' feeds, right? So we know that over 90% of businesses are on social media. So again, competition's pretty high. How are the algorithms picking your content over your competition's content, right? So focusing in on that content quality to make sure that you're ranking higher and more frequently is another example of social media optimization. Also, again, making sure that you're getting reactions from your posts and your ads, so getting that quality engagement. A lot of folks want to send traffic to their website, of course, from social media, and that would be ideal, right? Because that's moving your social media audience all that much further down the funnel to actually converting if they're on your website. So that's another example. Also making sure that your brand is super tightened up. That's social media is a great channel for that. Again, it's a great way to establish brand awareness because it is so visual. You can really convey some of the key concepts of your brand that words or copy might always not be able to convey. And along with that thought leadership. Now, this may or may not apply to many different industries, but basically you want to show that to your customers that your offering and your business is the best possible choice for them, right? Because there's tons of different competition. So sharing engaging and thought-provoking content on social media to not only just continuously push and market your business, but also show that you care about your industry and you care about the results that your customers are getting. And again, establishing that thought leadership in that way can really make a difference. And that kind of goes along with publishing content your followers want to see. Yes, we want to market our businesses on social media, but at the end of the day, we also want to be catering to our audiences and what they would ideally like to see. And then also just, again, improving those social signals. So sometimes on the search engine results page, so we're switching away from platforms over onto Google or Microsoft, for example, they will pull a lot of what they would pull organically for your business from your social media content and platforms. So making sure that, again, we're optimized for both on and off social media is really the key here. And then at the end of the day, we want to be converting prospects into customers, right? So another thing to be keeping in mind with both your organic and your paid posts is, all right, after somebody sees this post or sees this ad and they interact with it, what's next step? What do I ideally want to get out of it? What's my call to action here? And always keeping that in mind, to help you reach your overall goals is really important. So I kind of have given some examples of both paid and organic when it comes to optimization, but let's really dive into each of those. So I did a little bit of a twist on this specific webinar. I want to warm you up a little bit more. So type into that question box again. I got another pop quiz for you all. If you have had experience with marketing on social media or advertising, what do you think you've found the most success with? Have you often found that you prefer organic, or have you often found that you prefer paid? So definitely type in some of your experiences with paid or organic. I just love to see, because I think every marketer or business owner at heart, we all have a little bit of experience with it at this point, probably. And I think everyone has a preference. Honestly, it's hard for me because I come from an advertising background, and then having also grown into that organic background as well. It's a tough choice. I can't say which one I think I found to be better, but let's see here. A lot of people are typing in. Katie says paid all the way, bigger reach and more results. Ron says organic, interesting. This is great. There some folks here. Tiffany says paid social ads for sure. Brittany says organic. Jason says organic. Another Brittany says paid. Callie says it depends. I agree, Callie. It totally depends. Amanda says paid gets more customers outside the area, but organic can still work for her. William says organic works well for him. Andrew says he's been lucky to have a very engaged audience, so organic is very valuable, but paid also helps. That's great. I think it also, it does depend on your audience, your industry, and your experience and your level with marketing too, right? And that's going to be different for everyone, and that's totally okay. So this is great. Thank you all for participating in that pop quiz. For the sake of time, I am going to move on, but I love seeing these responses. It's just super interesting. And I gotta say it's a pretty 50-50 split. Some folks are favoring paid and some folks are favoring organic. So let's see if there's a winner here in this deck. So just for everyone on this call, since I know that there are folks of all different levels in terms of social media marketing, which is what we welcome here, let's just kind of run through what organic social media marketing really means. So organic is of course free. So that means you're just posting, you're adding to the content across your social media accounts. So any sort of post that you create organically is going to show passively to your followers as as they're browsing, their feeds across different platforms. It can be really helpful in establishing brand awareness and brand consistency, because at the end of the day, we don't all have infinite budgets. That would be amazing, but we can't just be blasting out ads all the time on social media. So if you want to continuously establish your brand on social media, organic is a great way to do that because you can just consistently post different sort of brand related posts there. And it's also pretty quick to execute because there's a lot less that you have to kind of hash out and decide from when it comes to your social ads. So again, for example, if you're just creating a quick post, you can just create that and post it live rather than setting up, a whole campaign and an ad or possibly an A/B test that you would see on the paid landscape. On the contrary here, we have paid social ads. So a few indicators of where you're seeing a paid versus an organic ad. So if you saw in that example on the left in the last slide with the organic post, it was just kind of a LinkedIn post that's just kind of hanging out there, right? So there's no like indicators that it would be a paid ad, but all paid social media ads have clear indicators on them. Like in this example here on the left with the little sponsored in the top left, there's a clear action button there with that learn more. And this is what you would basically see on like an Instagram or something like that if you were to see a paid ad. Of course, paid social ads in the name do cost a little bit of marketing budget, but it can be well worth it because you can show to people beyond your followers, so it can really expand your reach. And that's the tough part of social media, which is different from other marketing channels, is you're kind of stuck to either or posting organically to your followers and people interested in your business and looking you up, or going beyond that. If you don't have a huge following, paid social media can be really helpful in getting there to seeing more results from your organic. So I'm already alluding to the fact that they kind of work hand in hand here. And the other thing, again, I would just want to reiterate is that they have that set action. While you still want a clear CTA on your organic post, it's not going to be as actionable as it would be from a paid social ad because you have that button clearly right there with that learn more. They can click on it, they can take an action, they can convert off that. So you got a little bit more in-depth like tracking and reporting options as well to go along with that since you are tracking conversions with your paid social ads. I'll dig into a little bit of that today as well, but if you can imagine the reporting for a free post on a platform like an organic post, for example, is pretty bare bones compared to when you have a whole campaign and an A/B test set up and things like that in like an ads manager within a social media platform. And that's where you would see some more in-depth reporting. So I did a little Venn diagram just to kind of help us compare the two. They have a lot in common, so I want you all to keep that in mind. There is no end all be all. Paid is the way to go, organic is the way to go, and this is why. They're both going to have their pros and cons, and they both have can achieve a lot of the same things that you want to do. So it really depends on your unique needs. So again, they both are going to require time and planning. Even though organic posts, yes, you can just kind of create them, plug them in, and post them live. You want to put a little bit more thought into it than that, right? So you're going to be planning it, maybe planning out your content calendar for the month. Maybe you're creating graphics or videos ahead of time to post organically. So they're both going to take a little bit of time and planning, but that's okay. And they also require that design element that I alluded to. They will show on your own page. So if you do run an ad, you'll often see, maybe the users will often see the ad on your page as well, showing up depending on the platform. And also, of course, your organic posts are going to show up on your own page too. So while you want to be catering your content to your audience, you also want to be always thinking about, well, how is this going to make my overall brand look and my account look? They both can lead to conversions, even though paid social ads are really the way to go when you want to hit conversions heavy, you want to track conversions and all of that good stuff, people could still see your organic post and convert off that. You know, people are able to react, comment, like a paid social ad or an organic post as well. They both should always include a CTA, which I kind of mentioned, that call to action. You really want to make sure you're getting the most bang for your buck with your paid or your organic posts. And then also should include keywords. What I mean by this, and this is something that I'll kind of try and continue to loop in on some of our other tips throughout the day today, but basically when you're optimizing for social media, you know, you're not just optimizing for your page or for your audience. You also want to be, again, thinking about back to your SEO. You want to be thinking back to how you're going to show up in search engine results, but also in the search results on platforms too. So including high quality keywords in that, kind of your core terms, your money terms, as I like to call them, kind of the main points of your business, what you definitely want to get across to your customers. Always good to include that in your posts, whether they be organic or paid, just to not only reiterate your brand, your goals to your customers, but also, again, so that these platforms can pick up on that type of content and be able to pull it in when people are looking for it. Also, again, you know, there are some clear differences between paid and organic that we talked about a little bit. I did kind of touch on the reporting differences there. The other thing to consider too is the format option. So if you want a super customizable, you know, really tricked out social media ad, then you're probably going to want to go the paid route, because there's tons of different form. You can tweak those ads as much as you want, versus an organic post, you're kind of just stuck with the organic posts that you have ready at hand, which are usually just like, you know, a few different image sizes, maybe a story, you know, things like that. So I won't spend too much time here, but hopefully that was just a helpful breakdown of how these two different channels can differ and also be alike. So the end all be all question that I think everyone on this call is wondering, and that I get asked a lot as a digital marketer is, all right, is there a specific route that's better than the other? Is there one social strategy, whether it's paid or organic, better than the other? I added a little emoji in here in the spirit of social media to just say, no, there is no one route better than the other. And I think we all need to remember that we have very unique and specific needs within our own strategy and marketing goals. So everyone's mix of organic and paid is going to look different. And we saw that even in that poll question now, right? I said there's tons of people saying that they prefer paid, but there was also tons saying that they preferred organic. So there is no one strategy better than the other. Really, your best bet is to try a little bit of both, to reach not only just your followers and your audience, but also your target market and those beyond that with the paid. And they do, like I mentioned, kind of work together. And a strong social plan, a well-rounded holistic plan, will include both. So again, just be patient. Don't look at what your competitors are necessarily doing, or what, you know, others that you might be talking to might be doing, because it's always going to be dependent on what you want to do, what your budget is able to do, what your bandwidth is able to do. And, you know, when I'm talking budget, I'm not even just talking your spend for social ads, but also take into consideration other things like design or video creative for an organic post. You know, that can end up costing some marketing budget as well. So, you know, long story short, they're both beneficial to your business, and they're both going to help you grow. It's not going to hurt to do both, right? But there is going to be certain situations where you might find that one is more successful than the other. So at the end of the day, you want to be leveraging both. And you're not alone in this game. 35% of businesses are already doing this, are already integrating both their paid and organic social media marketing to have a holistic full funnel approach to social media. So let's dig into the tips and tricks by platform. I'm going to spend some time here, and we're going to go through a few very in-depth graphics. And I don't want anyone to be thrown off by these graphics, because they definitely are a lot to take in. So just remember that you'll be able to access this recording later, and you'll get the materials in your inbox later, but I'm going to walk you through all of it. So let's kind of break things down platform by platform. There is no secret that we know that there are specific platforms that are kind of like the big winners here, the top ones that you should be marketing or advertising on. Of course, Facebook, Instagram, Twitter, LinkedIn, TikTok, and Snapchat. So these are the most popular social media platforms we found from our research. And honestly, while we did call out some of the top audience members here in this graph here, you're going to find that even if your target market or your audience segment isn't necessarily called out on a specific platform in here, odds are they're definitely on there. I think a lot of folks nowadays, with so many options of platforms to choose from as a user, a lot of us are hopping around multiple different social media platforms. So we kind of called out some of the more popular ones here under that people column, but I would also just keep in mind that if your target market isn't called out there, that doesn't mean that necessarily that they're not on there at all. So let's kind of continue to go through this here. Each platform is kind of going to have its own different approach to how you want to be advertising and marketing on there. So for Facebook, of course, you know, there is a huge user base on Facebook, even now, right? I know a lot of folks are worried that Facebook might be favored less by the general population compared to some of these other newer platforms, but at the end of the day, Facebook still has a huge user demographic, like in the billions. So definitely want to make sure that we're on Facebook and on Instagram as well, which of course Facebook owns. And even though Facebook, you can definitely include a lot more text in your posts and your ads, which I like to highlight as kind of a pro there. It's still important to include like photos and links like you would on Instagram or Twitter or things like that. It can be really helpful for local marketing since you can include certain local details on your business page. The one thing that I would say for Facebook too is you do have to have a few things set up first, and same for Instagram to really market and advertise on there. Like you're going to need to have your business page set up and want your business manager set up correctly. We have tons of resources on that on our website, so that's something else to consider too when you're marketing and advertising on Facebook and Instagram. There we did and call out a few of the top industries that it could be good for too based on the nature of that, and we also did call out some common emotions that we found from that as well. And the one thing with Facebook is since it is such a huge platform, it's also a super saturated platform. So that's why we called out there being kind of a weak organic reach for Facebook. So, you know, again, it's just, you can still be successful organically on Facebook, but it's a very, very big pond to be swimming in as a business. So just keep that in mind. Instagram, alternatively, is actually really great for organic since it's a little bit smaller of a user base, still huge, still in the billions, but still not quite as high as Facebook. So this is a great option, I think, for both advertising and posting organically, regardless of your target demographic. The only thing we have found is that the ad costs are a little bit higher on Instagram compared to some of the other platforms, whereas on Facebook ads are actually much cheaper. They're like the second cheapest ad cost next to Twitter. Twitter is the cheapest. So there are a few things, and that's just kind of like the range, right? Everybody's situation is going to be different. I want you all to keep that in mind, but that's something to kind of keep in mind depending on your budget and what you're trying to achieve. A lot of folks go to Instagram now to be entertained, which you'll see in some of these other platforms too, rather than, you know, Facebook or LinkedIn, for example. People are going there to learn. People aren't necessarily going there for fun all the time anymore. So that's something to keep in mind as well. Twitter is still a huge platform as well. It has kind of a mixed bag of both, you know, people interested in wanting to get entertained, but also I think a lot of people use Twitter for news and updates and things like that. So there is a little bit of a mix of emotions there, which can make it kind of a tough platform to balance on when it comes to your marketing strategy. So that's just something to keep in mind as well. Continuing on here for the sake of time, we have LinkedIn. I'm sure we're all familiar with LinkedIn. I already mentioned you can follow me on LinkedIn. You can follow WordStream and LocalIQ on LinkedIn. It's really great, and not just for B2B. I know we call out B2B here, and people always assume that LinkedIn is really just for B2B, but this is a great example of how I want you all to think outside of the box when it comes to social media marketing, because when you're thinking, let's say you are a B2B business, sure, LinkedIn is great, but if you're thinking about your ideal user or your ideal customer, you're probably wanting to show to them throughout their workday. Are they on LinkedIn all day throughout their workday? As much as we all love to tell ourselves that we're only focusing on work all day, odds are for a lot of the B2B audiences, they're not necessarily on LinkedIn or reading like related content about work all day. They're probably thinking about their plans for their weekend, what they're going to do after they commute home from work, checking out the weather. So there's a lot of different platforms that, these B2B audiences can be on too. So while we do call it out here, I just wanted to kind of make that mention that I think a lot of folks kind of make assumptions about their target market or their ideal customer, but really kind of get in the mindset of what their day-to-day lives might be like, because you might find that it's not always necessarily what you might first assume. TikTok is of course on the rise. Now again, we call out kind of these younger demographics here, but it's definitely growing even more so in even recent months of folks a little bit older getting on those platforms. People are looking for something funny. They are also looking for creative types of content. This is a great platform to use as a business if you want to check out influencer marketing, because of course it's just tough to just promote your business on TikTok at like cold, right? So if you don't have a huge following on TikTok, a great way to start is to leverage somebody else who has a huge following on TikTok. So definitely something to consider there. And then Snapchat, of course, is huge, continues to be huge, with a few specific demographics, but also all sorts of different demographics are on Snapchat now, and they're pretty cheap compared to some other ad costs out there. There's a lot you can do with it, a few different options in terms of like the angle you could take and the type of format you could take. But since it's a little bit of a short-lived type of experience on Snapchat where people are just kind of tapping through stories, tapping through different, snaps or videos or things like that, it's hard to build long-lasting relationships with your audience. So that's just something to keep in mind with Snapchat as well. So for folks asking, I know I did mention, this is a lot to take in. That's why I spent so much time on this slide. But again, remember that you will get the materials for this particular PowerPoint, this webinar after in your inbox. So don't worry about that. This will be recorded. So I just saw a few questions coming in about that. So you'll be able to access a recording easily later. And again, like I said, on our YouTube, you can take a pause. You can take another look at this. It's also all from our blog on WordStream. So definitely check that out. So this is a little bit more of just a condensed, digestible version of what I just walked through. Again, I just want to make sure that, we all kind of look at the platforms that we care about most and kind of see and start getting some ideas for how we can angle or alter our content or our ads to match those platforms. So again, just kind of looking at some of these pros and cons with Facebook and Instagram, it can be pricier on Instagram. Facebook, you have a lot of competition, but again, both of these platforms are kind of like the two big social media platforms. So you definitely want to be on there. Twitter, it can be quick and easy to advertise and tweet on as well. Tweets are pretty quick to create, so that's kind of nice for your organic marketing as well that I would call out. And again, it is news and information geared, so that can be tough too. If you're like really leaning towards funny or creative or inspiring content, then you might switch over to LinkedIn, TikTok, and Snapchat. So I did kind of go through all of the different platforms, hopefully gave you some ideas. Again, I know that was a ton of information. Let's kind of just talk about some general social media tips. So more ways that you can make sure that your social media strategies, both paid and organic, are set up for success. So again, I don't care if you're just running ads or you're just doing organic posts. These key kind of takeaways here apply across the board, right? So you always want to make sure that your reporting is solidified first. So What I mean by that is you need to have a way to accurately measure the success of your social media efforts, and whether it be organic or paid, right? So if it's organic, get familiar with the dashboards that you have available to you. In the local IQ Client Center, we do make that all readily available and easy for you to see. If we have time, I'll hop into it and show you all. But you can see a little preview of this is directly from our lead dashboard in our platform here of how you can just get just a quick rundown of your organic and your paid social media efforts. So it definitely makes sure that you have your ducks in a row with that, because you don't want to be running something on social media and then down the line not totally sure on how it's performing, or not totally confident in the numbers that you see. So making sure that you have that ironed out beforehand is going to save you from headaches down the line. Also, you want to be pre-planning your content, right? Regardless if it's organic or paid, make sure that you have, a calendar or whatever system works for you to know exactly what types of posts you're going to be creating, when you're going to put them live. And this will help you not only create high quality content because you're giving yourself a little bit more time to prepare before it actually goes live, but it also helps you avoid any sort of fatigue with your audience. So you don't want to be accidentally posting the same types of content days and days and days in a row. So when you have kind of a bird's eye view of your overall content for the month, this will give you just a little bit of a better view into how people are going to be seeing your content and ingesting your content. So there's an example of a calendar there that we have make readily available to you all for free. If you want to use it, it's just another great way to make sure that you're planning your content accordingly. And then lastly, and I'll touch on this a little bit more in the next slide too, but it's not just social media and marketing and advertising when it comes to growing your business, right? That's not just the one end all be all channel. There is no one end all be all channel when it comes to digital marketing. So make sure that you're thinking about your other channels and how they can work and play off your social media. So what I mean by that is you want to make sure that you're advertising or promoting kind of the same things across channels, right? So if I have a sale coming up and I'm sending out some emails about it, I probably want to post about it on social media too, just to make sure that I'm catching every possible prospective customer that I can. Or on the opposite end, if I'm pushing something on social media, I don't want conflicting information about that on my website or on my local listing. So there is a few different ways that you can look at your cross-channel marketing when it comes to social media, but make sure that you are thinking about that, thinking about the full funnel, the customer journey or the buyer's journey here, right? People are going to see your social media posts and then they might go ahead and search for your business later. So are your search ads, tightened up to meet those needs of your social media audience or things like that? There's tons of different scenarios, tons of different touch points that your customers are probably making with your business before they actually convert. So just make sure that you're keeping that in mind. So we do have some special technology that's unique to our platform called our cross media optimization technology that helps do this for you. So our president, Chris Martin, gave a little quote for this about this, but basically you want to make sure that you're promoting your business across multiple different channels kind of in one swoop, because it again helps you hit your prospective customers every step of the funnel. And we help you do that for you by just kind of making it a one-stop shop, and leveraging cutting edge machine learning, and to kind of predict and optimize based on specific trends and hurdles within your social media marketing and your social ads, but also in relation to your other channels as well, like your social ads, and things like that. So definitely something to keep in mind. So a few thought starters before we dive into the Q&A today. So I did put a little funny thing here on the left. If you want to go viral, which let's face it, that's not really the goal of social media marketing or advertising, but wouldn't that be great if we all just went viral with our businesses in 2023? Here's how you do that, right? So be patient. The hardest part of digital marketing, and I always say this is like my favorite joke to say, but the hardest part is patience. And it's true, because regardless if you're doing paid social media marketing or if you're doing just organic social media marketing, it's going to take time and you're not going to see results unless you really kind of put in that TLC. And that's what we're here to help you do, because you really do need to take some time to curate high quality content, make sure your images are buttoned up, make sure you have some engaging videos on there, make sure that you have things planned out, and make sure that you give your social media posts and ads enough time to breathe to actually show their performance and show their results. Something that we kind of go as a guideline, and this is hard for a lot of businesses, and I get it, is to give your ads or your posts at minimum 14 days, ideally 30. And that's at minimum, just to see if they're working and collecting data, because the algorithms are going to need time to really understand and serve your ad or your post as efficiently as possible. So yeah, you definitely want to give it some time to not only make sure that you have a full picture of the data to make a data back decision as for your next move, do I need to pull back on this? Do I need to put more into this or something like that? But you also, again, just want to make sure that you're giving yourself enough time to make sure that you have a holistic strategy overall. So definitely give yourself some grace and some patience when it comes to social media marketing. It's going to ebb and flow. There's going to be up and downs. Nobody's social media advertising marketing is perfect. If it was, we wouldn't be on this webinar today. So just keep that in mind. And that's why there are tools and platforms and things that you can do to help throughout your process. Not only do the platforms themselves, like I mentioned, give you some minimal reporting and things like that you can at minimum dive into, just even if it's a few minutes, to make sure that all your ducks are in a row. But you can also leverage online tools to find the right keywords for your social ads or your social posts, or to create the right images for your social posts, things like that. And if there's one thing you could probably tell from a lot of the data that I pulled across platforms, is that they probably were a little different than some of the assumptions that we already had about some of these platforms, right? So the social media landscape is constantly changing, constantly evolving, and so should your strategy, right? So don't be married to one set budget or one set type of ad or format or post, because it's going to change. We've seen tons of changes on social media, I know firsthand already, and it's going to continue to evolve. So just be nimble and ready to embrace that and be flexible with your strategy. And not only to flex to the platforms and their updates, but also to your needs, right? Maybe your goal right now is to just kind of increase your following through some paid social ads. But once you have that larger following, you're going to have to change or adjust your strategy again to, create more organic posts or to cater to that larger audience and things like that. So kind of some just helpful key tips to keep in mind there. If you feel like this was a lot to take in, which I certainly know that I felt that way, I know it's a lot of information all at once. And yes, we will be sending out this recording and sending out the materials later. And again, the recording is on our YouTube, so you can pause, take your time with any slide that I went through today later on there. But if you do have more questions, more specific questions about your unique business, your unique needs and industry, which I'm sure we all do, definitely hit yes in that poll that I just put up on the screen if you feel like you need a little bit more help or assistance, or just want personalized, individualized advice on what you should do next when it comes to your social media game. I highly recommend it. We're going to leave that poll up for the remainder of the webinar, so that we're kind of switching to an audio portion where I'll dig into your questions. And boy, did I see a ton of questions coming in. So I'm going to dive right in. This is great. Make sure you're adding in your questions as we go for this Q&A session for the remaining 10 minutes. I did see a few folks call out something interesting, and I do want to address it first as one of the first questions that I'll touch on. Is a couple of folks asked, what about YouTube? Would you consider YouTube a social media platform or a social media channel? Why or why not? Great question. And that is something that I did consider when creating this content, right? YouTube is kind of technically a social media platform. There are some social aspects to the platform. But at the end of the day, for your business to really see success on YouTube, it's not going to be treated the same way as you would with other social media strategies and platforms, because it is so video driven and it's such a saturated platform. It's huge. It essentially really deserves a whole webinar in and of itself, right? So is YouTube a great channel to advertise and market on? Absolutely, 100%. I cannot stress that enough. But is it really going to, be as successful for you if you follow kind of the same types of patterns and best practices for your social ads on other platforms on YouTube? probably not. It's kind of its own other beast, and that's why I chose not to include it here, but great call out there. A few other questions coming in. Margaret asked a great question, and this is kind of related to our social media. She goes, do you think I need a website? Capitalized in need. Does Margaret need a website? If she's maybe marketing on social media, maybe she kind of lives and operates kind of her businesses out of her social media platforms, I'd still say yes, absolutely everyone on this call that's looking to market or advertise or grow should have a website. Even if you have you could have the best social media pages and accounts in the world, but if you don't have a website to really kind of seal a deal with your customers, you're never going to see as much success as you probably could, right? Because social media is only, like I said, part of the whole marketing funnel, the whole kind of cycle of channels that you'll be going through and your customers will be going through. Social media can only help you achieve so much when it comes to converting customers. And also, I think it can also only convey so much about your business. So your website is kind of like your home base, your only place that you can get across your customers, basically whatever you want to get across about your business, and also get them to do actions that you might not necessarily have them be able to do on social media otherwise. So absolutely, yes, I would say you need a website. Great question there. So tons of other questions coming in. Kay asked a great question about social media marketing and advertising. What types of metrics should I focus on? I've heard less is better. How did you discover and capture success? Great question, Kay. So the first thing I would bounce back to you with that question is, what are your goals, right? And the metrics that folks pay attention to are going to differ depending on their goals, right? Because if I'm just looking to grow brand awareness and maybe I get some impressions on my social media ads or posts, that might be a win for me because I'm trying to get that brand awareness. But if I'm looking to seal the deal and increase sales, then obviously, you know, impressions isn't going to matter to me as much if I'm, you know, increasing my conversion rate overall. Yes, less is better. You kind of want to keep your reporting and the metrics that you focus on simpler, because that will just take, you know, less time for you to manage. It'll make management and reporting a little bit easier and a little bit more reliable because you won't be juggling so many different metrics. And also, like I said, you know, certain metrics aren't going to matter as much depending on your goals. But at the end of the day, I would still say, you know, some of the top ones for social media are, of course, those impressions that reach, right? The engagement rate is huge across platforms, right? And then I would, you know, go further down that funnel and really be looking at those conversions. So definitely be thinking about that too. So some other folks are asking here, tons of other questions coming in. Aaron asks, what type of offers are most effective for capturing Facebook leads using lead ads? Great question, Aaron. There are a lot of different things. It really depends on your industry, and that's going to be my answer probably for a lot of these questions. But I would say, you know, we often see Facebook lead ads being used for limited time offers or sweepstakes. I would also recommend swapping out your call to action there too, even if it's the same offer overall. Yeah, sure, you want to kind of generate leads just in general for your service or your, you know, whatever you might be offering. But there's different ways that you can angle it. So I wouldn't say necessarily you need to always switch up your offer when it comes to Facebook lead ads, but I would really more focus in on the switching up the copy. So that would be one little tip there. Again, for folks just kind of wondering where the video went for this portion, again, we're just in the audio portion to go through these Q&As while we keep the poll up. So some other questions coming in. Anastasia asked, how do I get my organic posts to show up more often? She said she feels like the ever-changing Instagram algorithms are kind of working against her. She can't keep her organic posts to like continue seeing the types of reach that they once were seeing. So that would go back to some of those optimization tweaks that I had mentioned about, you know, switching up your content, your creative, of course, and your video. Of course, that's a given, but really digging in there, really making sure that that content is quality, that it's of high quality, you know, visuals, it's engaging, maybe trying a different angle, different copy there. And then again, I would maybe think back to my keywords, right? Because when we're talking organic, especially on Instagram, you're not just showing in the feed. You could totally show on the explore page or other areas of Instagram You could show in search, you know, and your organic post could absolutely show up in a hashtag search. So thinking outside of the box of not just the feed, but also the other placements for your organic post could probably help you get a little bit more reach. So tons of other questions coming in. Joan asked, how often should we post on Instagram? That's a super common question. And just in general, everyone always is asking, well, how often should I post on LinkedIn or Facebook? You know, what's my cadence on all these different platforms? We have tons and tons of resources on that. So it's really going to depend on the platform. For Instagram, it is changing and it is dependent on industries. So I would just recommend checking out our resources on that. You know, at minimum, you really want to be on there at least weekly, but probably much more often than that, realistically. And the one thing that I keep in mind when I give people advice on this is also thinking about your bandwidth and what's realistic for your business, right? I would rather see less frequent, high quality posts than more posts, you know, a higher quantity, lower quality of posts, right? So thinking about what's feasible for you, you know, how often realistically can I create a high quality post and put it live and measure it each week or, you know, each month for each platform. I think that's something to consider too. Great questions. Keep these questions coming in. Leonard asked a good question. What is the best platform to promote YouTube videos? You know, this is kind of interesting take that I would say, but I've found a lot of YouTube videos on LinkedIn. And even if you're not a B2B business, I see a lot of YouTube videos on LinkedIn. So that could be definitely one platform to try out. A lot of people do turn their YouTube videos into Instagram videos or TikTok videos as well. So that's another option. So I would just really focus in on, of course, the video-based platforms, you know, TikTok, Snapchat, Instagram, but also some of those out-of-box platforms like LinkedIn and the other ones. Sai asked a great question. Is social media ads better or is Google ads better? Oh, I love questions like this, right? Because everyone always wants there to be one end-all be-all channel or platform that is going to give their business the most success possible and be the best one, and then they don't have to worry about the other ones. I would love that, right? But at the end of the day, realistically, there is no black and white answer to that question, right? Ideally, social media is going to be working in tandem with your Google ads or your SEO, right? So, you know, if you want to be running the best social media ads possible, they're going to be of much higher quality when you already have, you know, a search strategy in place as well. So I would not say by any means that one platform is better than another, because every different business owner that you talk to is going to say that they find different or better results on a different platform. So you really need to find out what marketing mix works for you, and ideally be doing a cross-channel or strategy there. Great questions here. I know we just have 1 minute left. If you couldn't tell, I wish I could answer all of your questions. Super interesting stuff here. Thank you all for participating in that. I could talk about this stuff all day. But if you have more questions, again, you know, that's why we left that poll up so you can get some expert advice. Or again, like I said, check out our resources on our website, on our YouTube, on our social media, on our blog to find out more. Keep your eye out for more webinars like this. We do them monthly. And thank you all so much for your time. Thanks for joining. It was really great to dive into this. And I hope you all have a wonderful day. Thank you. Bye-bye.